Hello, Stephen White from SteveArts89 here again. We're on the Kurtzman Fired or Not Fired train again. Um, the rumour first came out that Kurtzman was fired from Discovery, basically, that they weren't happy with how he was running things and they wanted to get rid of him, and that they basically had promoted him up, or basically they'd removed him from the direct show running, and he was just staying there basically for the title and because they had a contract and couldn't get rid of him. Um, and they were referring to that as being fired, but of course not literally fired because he's still there, he's still working, but basically be removed from the day-to-day and just working on other things because he's got other shows he's working on there. And the slightly more, I don't know if it was revised or more researched argument with that was that he was being given something else and he was just focusing on other things there. So he was still involved with CBS, but he just was removed from being involved with Star Trek. So the clickbait is fired, 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 but they didn't literally mean fired. So all the people saying no, he wasn't fired. Well, yes, they're right, but they weren't actually saying he was fired. They were saying he was removed. Then, of course, to combat that, because they know about the fandom menace and all the fans that talk about the show and criticize the show, they put out a bunch of interviews with Kurtzman specifically saying, this is what I'm doing with Star Trek, like he's still involved. And that kind of shut people up on one level, and I sort of thought, oh, I guess he's not fired then. He may not be directly involved because he may not be the best person to actually run show to show, but to look over the franchise as a whole and look at the production side, the managing the franchise side sort of thing. Maybe they thought he's capable of doing that. So I thought, fine, whatever. I was hoping he was gone, but I sort of thought it's a bit too good to be true. Then we get this other story, which apparently is true, is that he has been removed. He has been removed from all day to day. He's not the showrunner of any of the shows. They brought in new people to be the brand ambassadors or running the brand, and people actually showrunners for the other shows. He's not showrunning anything. He's not doing Picard, and Michael Chabon has been brought on to do Picard, and who's doing Michelle Paradise is doing the Discovery Season 3. Now, Season 3 basically lost its funding. Netflix has not wanting to take that on. Amazon took on Picard because Netflix turned it down, and I was hoping Season 3 wouldn't happen because the only way it could happen is if CBS pays for it, and they didn't really want to do that. They want someone else to pay for it. They want someone else to take the risk. And they got that with Season 1 with Netflix. They basically, the amount of money they got for the contract for the international rights basically covered the whole production of the show, so they had no risk. The second season, they got more money off Netflix, but not enough to cover it, because it's just because that's how the deal was sort of going to be in the first place, but also because Netflix didn't want to pay as much because it didn't get what it wanted. It didn't get an original canon universe Star Trek series to put in with the other shows for the fans to watch and rewatch forever, like they do with the other ones from the canon universe. They got JJ Trek Prime Universe, and not as many people like that, and the fans who do like that are not the kind of fans that the original Star Trek fans were, who buy a lot of merchandise and get really into the fan scene. They're not geeks, they're more casual sci-fi viewers. Like, I have friends who all tell me they love Discovery, they've watched it once and can't remember a thing about it. I was with a friend and he was saying, I can't remember how Season 3 ended, what happened in the last episode? And I'm like, you don't even remember? You were so, because they just like the special effects and the pew 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 and wow, that looks cool. Don't think about it, just washes over them and they just move on. And that's the sort of fan that seems to be in the Discovery fan base, and that's why the merchandise is not really happening, and the fanaticism is not there with these new fans. So they either want the old fans back, or they want new fans that hold Star Trek as dear to them, but they're not going to with this new show, because this new show doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you hope. It doesn't give you this wonderful future vision that Gene had, that you could escape into and believe in, and all the amazing things that made it a true phenomenon for generations. 2 generations of people, audiences, watched this show and brought it into their home and their heart, and it meant something. The new universe, it's just flashes and pretty people and nasty shit, and yeah, it's not resonating So yeah, you can't talk about Discovery and not have a rant. So I was going on one there. I need to do a proper video on the subject at some point. But yep, so it's looking good on one level because not only is Kurtzman not directly involved in anything, he did say in an interview, which I really appreciated, which obviously none of these comments are accidental. He's either being told to say it or he's worked out what he needs to say or what he needs to do. He might just be saying it for the sake of it. But he said, I am looking at everything. I'm watching all the videos. I'm listening to all the critics. I'm reading all the articles, both sides, good and bad, because he's basically saying, I'm happy to change for the fans. I'm happy to course change. I want them to be happy. I get it's not about me. I'm doing the show. It's not just me. I can't just take it personal. And he basically admitted he was doing that before. He was making it personal, all about him. And he sort of realised that either because they've kicked his ass because they have lost money or they haven't made as much money as they should have, or he just realised it in himself. And if this is true, this is good, because all he needs to do is step back a little bit, let Star Trek be Star Trek, let changes happen and let it be the show it's supposed to be, not try and make it into Star Wars, not try and make it his own vision of what the hell ever he saw. Because this idea that making Star Trek like Star Wars would make it more popular did not work, because it took away what made it special for the fanatics and the serious fans, and the other fans, there's nothing to grab onto. It's just like watching like light version of Star Wars or something. I don't know. God, it's exhausting thinking about it. But yeah, so that's the main thing. Kurtzman is off the show in that sense. He's not directly involved in day-to-day hands-on. He's not a showrunner. They've got other people to run the shows, and they're going to do that with all the shows. So they're all going to have a different voice, and they can't, even if some of them fuck up, they can't all go wrong in the same way. Like they shouldn't have another Discovery season 1 ever. And if they keep getting better, I can kind of accept the different universe and that, so long as they just have the basic ideas. Although Picard is looking bad because they are talking about he's made a bunch of bad decisions, dark choices, and that's why he's where he is. So it looks like they're Loganing him. Looks like they're Last Jediing him. They're Jake Skywalkering him. It looks like, but it could be salvaged. It could be made a mistake, get back up, and go in the direction he should have been in. And so long as they still have the Star Trek universe intact and it's just him faltering within it, it can work. But if they're going to give us a dark Star Trek where I can't even talk about it anymore, it's exhausting. And the only other little bit of news I found interesting was apparently some of the Star Trek cast, Discovery cast, should differentiate. I'm still doing that. I'm not calling the show STD, but I'm just referring it to as Discovery, not Star Trek Discovery, because it's still not really Star Trek. The Pike elements were, but it's still it's getting closer. But there's the main core theme issues and tone issues, and then there's the quality issues, the bad writing, the stories that don't make sense, all that sort of side. They can fix that just with different writers and producers. The other bigger problem is more franchise overall and direction. So there's some hope, but yeah. But there was some posts from Discovery actors saying that they were travelling abroad and they seem to be scouting for areas for new alien planets for Season 3. So supposedly Season 3 is going to go forward in July, start filming in July, which I'm guessing means they've either suckered someone in to paying for it who doesn't understand what happened with Season 1 and 2 and what's happening with the licensing and the fans, or they're just paying for it themselves because they got to save face and they've got to keep the show going because they need it for all access. We don't know. We can only speculate. But I'm glad Kurtzman has stepped back and he's taking a bit of a look at what he's doing and willing to make some changes. That's encouraging. If we can't get rid of him, at least if he can bend a bit, we might get something resembling Star Trek. So I'm just going to leave that there. Those are the 3 little bits for Star Trek this week that I have found interesting and want to talk about. Feel free to comment. Feel free to like or subscribe. And I will be back when something piques my interest. Thanks. Bye.